I still get a compiler error. And the compiler error that I'm getting is that employee doesn't have a constructor that invokes the base constructor. Now, here's an important thing about inheritance. Inheritance does not inherit constructors. I could have 50 billion constructors on my person class, but none of them would be inherited into employee. So what we have to do is we have to create a constructor on an employee that in some way invokes a valid constructor on person. Now you'll notice the error we get is a little funky looking. It says console application 1.person does not contain a constructor that takes 0 arguments. What's happening here is that the default, because we have not specified a constructor on employee, the default constructor on employee that the C# compiler generates for us takes in no parameters. And it's trying to invoke the constructor on the parent class, because that's how constructors work in inheritance. You have to invoke the constructor on the class above this. You have to invoke the constructor on the class that's a base of the child. So you always have to invoke the constructor on every type that's in the hierarchy. And because we don't specify a constructor here, it's trying to invoke a default constructor on person, but person doesn't have a parameterless constructor. So we need a way to specify a constructor in employee that delegates back into person. And we can do that fairly easily. We can say public employee, string first name, string last name, and then int yearly income. We can say yearly income equals yearly income, but we'll still have a problem. If I build this, we still get person does not contain a constructor that takes 0 arguments. We have to add one more bit of code. Here's that one more bit of code. By adding a colon, the word base, and then invoking the constructor, we have satisfied that the fact that we have to invoke this constructor on this class in order to instantiate it. So now we have a few more errors. The errors that we're getting now are from employees. We just have to do the same treatment we did before. So same thing right there, and then the same thing right here.
It's worth noting that call to base is between the parentheses and the curly braces that indicate the method body.
Yeah. Okay, so now if we build, we get successful build. Okay, what we have done is we created a constructor on this person type, meaning we have to invoke this constructor every time that a person is instantiated. I mean, do you follow so far, Nato? Because we've declared this constructor, we have to invoke this constructor every time we instantiate a person. Okay, now because an employee is a person or inherits from a person, what we need to do is we need to invoke that constructor right here, but we're invoking a constructor inside of a constructor. We're actually invoking the person constructor by saying colon base and then passing in a list of arguments. So you'll notice I'm threading these parameters through. I'm saying first name, last name, and yearly income. Then I'm threading first name and last name into the constructor of the base type.